Events over the course of the summer, and then we're planning something really fun for the fall that you'll be hearing about soon as well. I am supposed to remind you that we are actively tweeting this event tonight at #CFox10, so to make sure that you're following it there as well, and if you're tweeting. But I want to get right to it and tell you a little bit about what we're going to do tonight, because I'm very happy to have Neal Augenstein with us. So we have 15 minutes going to be timed in the style of a great TED Talk here, where I've got 5 questions for Neal, and we're going to see how many we can get through in 15 minutes. Really focused on his role in pushing the envelope in storytelling, and how Neal has essentially rethought a lot of how you tell a great story on radio and the tools you use to tell a great story on radio. So we're going to get through that 15 minutes of me asking him questions, and then I know if you've still got a few minutes, you're going to hang around to answer some questions from the group too. Cool. So who's got our timer over there? All right, you got to tell me. All right, so first let me tell you a little bit about Neal if you don't know him, although I suspect that most of you know his voice quite well, having been at WTOP since 1997. So you've been there a while. And a lot has changed since you joined the station. Back when you started, I remember you talking about it used to be reel-to-reel tape recorders and radio recorders that were about the weight of a bowling ball. And
actually, the phones, the bag phones.
The bag phone.
Yeah, so with the bag phones that you had to carry, it was literally the weight of a bowling ball, and it was, a far cry from where we are today with smartphones.
Yeah. So that's really what we're going to focus on with you, because Neal is now the first reporter in a major market, radio market, to throw all of those heavy machinery to the side and say, I'm going to just report using my iPhone and some great apps. So 2 can play this game, Neal, and so I'm using my iPhone as my notes tonight. Don't think I'm just being rude. Neal, for those of you who are on Twitter as well, you can track Neal at Neal Augenstein, or also at WTOP. And know that we're going to talk a little bit about this, but Neal's got several very cool ventures that he's got going on, including iPhonereporting.com. So we're going to talk about that too. All right, so let me dive in with my first question here. So you, more than most, have figured out how to seamlessly shift from these old ways of reporting to the new and evolving world of digital journalism, where all content must be packaged and turned around on multiple platforms. I suspect, after having read a bit about you and reading on iPhone reporting, that you were ahead of the curve in the newsroom, and that this idea of iPhone reporting on radio took some convincing. It's a far cry from that bag phone you talked about. So talk to me about what led you to the reporter you are today, and what you consider the turning point for you in that digital reporting career.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Well, the reason why I started using my iPhone was I was looking for a way to save time. In the old days, you carried a laptop, a couple of cassette recorders, a still camera, a video camera, a whole bunch of cords, a whole bunch of microphones, and every time you did an interview, you needed to reboot the laptop because you wanted to transfer the material to your laptop and then edit it. So I would spend a whole lot of time waiting around. Eventually, I knew that it would be cool if there were a gizmo that would allow you to do everything on a single device. When I started hearing about iPhones, I was interested, and then when I first heard of a multi-track audio editing app, that to me was the turning point. When I was able to do an interview and edit the material in the same app. And then you could also, I could also do my own voice part, and then transmit it to the newsroom. That to me was the point where I said, well, you know what? Let me at least give it a try, see what the sound quality is, and we'll go from there. What happened, and this was actually before. This was in February 2010. Since then, the whole industry has changed. Since then, this whole expectation of reporters being able to do everything, being able to shoot their own pictures, shoot their own video, write their own web stories, do their social media. That has all progressed at the same time. So, and it's certainly, you can do them all on the iPhone. So that's pretty much how it started and why I still do it.
Cool. So I've seen you describe WTOP as a digital news organization, whereas most of the people in this room, I think, consider WTOP a radio station, right? So talk to me about the direction that WTOP is taking and that you think about it as a multi-platform.
About 5 years ago, we had a big meeting that really shook a bunch of people up. We were told that we were no longer going to be a radio station, that our audience, a radio audience, especially a news or a talk station, it usually skews older. So we were told that while we were the number one station in the market and still are, that eventually we would our audience would die, and if we didn't progress, we were going to be in trouble. We were going to have to die also. So we, obviously we've been keeping an eye out on technology and social media, and we just had the discussion that we're no longer a radio station. That to succeed, you've got to work on the synergy between your radio station. Of course, we're very lucky that we have the top rated radio station. That's a very big bullhorn that we still have, and and we still get the most money from our radio advertising more than our web advertising or our social media advertising. But we're making the move towards that. We realized several years ago, I think before other news stations or other media group did, that Twitter equals, Twitter is the same as on air. It used to be unthinkable that you would break a story any place but on the radio. And we had arguments in the newsroom. You have to do it on the radio first. We're a radio station. Then we thought, we can do it on the website too. It's called WTOP.com. And then we also realized, it's all the same brand. Whether they're following us on Twitter, if they hear the news first on Twitter, then great. Eventually, we'll get them to listen to it on the radio too. They're all equal, and that has we want people to feel confident that no matter what they're doing, then they'll get the news.
Perfect. All right. So perfect segue, because I want to talk about Twitter. So I saw you on PBS Media Shift not too long ago talking about the power of Twitter in harnessing a story, and you talked about the ultimate tweet. So I want to have you tell us all about, everyone here is trying to figure out how to make Twitter work so that you're not talking to yourself, but that you actually are engaging people on a platform like Twitter. How do you do it? What's the ultimate tweet?
Well, first things first. Everyone always talks about how many Twitter followers you have. It's nice to have Twitter followers. To me, I'm more proud of the number of people that I follow. So a lot of people will only follow. They won't follow someone who, quote, is more important than they are. I want to be connected with everybody, with everyone who's interested and kind enough to reach out to me. I want to hear what they have to say too. So I feel like I'm building a relationship with every Twitter follower. I'm glad to share little bits of my life. I don't tweet pictures of my kids. I don't tweet where I live, but I'll tell you a little bit. I'll tell you my favorite pizza. I'll tell you I'll tell you the team I grew up to watching. I'll tell you my favorite band. I'll share some video of my favorite bands. We'll crack some jokes. We'll be serious when need be. So you're sharing a little bit of yourself, and I think that people can recognize that. Obviously, you have to take complete responsibility for what you tweet. If I would never tweet anything that I wouldn't say in this room. So as a reporter, you're always judged, but your credibility is always at risk, and Twitter even more so. So you watch what you say. There are times when you bite your tongue, but you got to share. You got to give a little bit of content. You got to make people. You got to tell some stories. You got to be a person, and I think people like to communicate with other people.
So since you pushed the envelope in starting iPhone reporting, how has the newsroom changed? Do they require that you tweet, that you're on social media? When you file a story, are you simultaneously filing it online? Tell me about that.
Well, in the last when we started, social media and online was an afterthought. So we would cover the story on the radio, and then we would write the story, or maybe even just the script of the radio report would become an online story. We realized that that's not effective at all. So now what we're doing is, from the very beginning, from the point where we're deciding what stories we're going to be covering for the day, we have to, we consider, does it have an online component? Could it have, is it something that people might talk about on social media? So now it's from the very beginning, it has to be interesting and applicable to all of the different platforms before we'll do the story.
Cool. Okay. So like the evolution of journalism, there seems to be the evolution of the reporter, where a reporter's not working for just one organization and wearing the WTOP.com hat anymore, but you're on PBS, you're on CBS radio, you're on other platforms. So how has that evolution, how do you think about your own Twitter handle, right? You're not Neal Augenstein WTOP, you're Neal Augenstein. So do you consider yourself and many other journalists becoming your own brand in some way?
Well, in addition to Neal Augenstein, I am also Augenstein WTOP, which has the most followers, and who I follow the most. So yes, personal branding is important. Mm-hmm. It's something I'd never heard of 5 or 6 years ago. I think that bosses realize that a person who is able to build a personal brand and become, be a little well-rounded, or be able to specialize in something that brings value to the station. I mean, I wouldn't, it helps WTOP for me to be sitting here talking with you today. So I think they're willing to, to do that. You do have to walk a line. You can't, be I can't be marketing stuff while I'm a WTOP reporter. So you do have to walk the lines, and it is, and there are discussions and there are negotiations, but it seems that people who are able to contribute to PBS or do something for the Poynter Institute or do something for another industry publication, that's good publicity, and it's valuable to the station.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Tell folks here a little bit about iPhone reporting and how you split your time.
Well, it'd be nice if I could be splitting my time, but it's a part of what I do these days is also train nonprofit and educational groups on how to use how to harness the iPhones to tell their story. There's so many different storytelling ways, and it's like, if you can think it, you can do it. It's a very, very freeing, very very positive transition point in storytelling. So I'm with iPhonereporting.com. That's my website that focuses on this sort of stuff. I also do train folks if they're interested in telling stories with their phones.
So, last question for you. Tell me what's next, what you're most excited about. Just like you waited for that perfect iPhone app to come out so you could throw that bag phone out the window and turn over to iPhone reporting, what are you waiting for next? How do you think reporting, especially on radio, is going to continue to shift to tell a great story?
Well, one thing that I'll look down the road a little bit. I would like, and I've talked about this with my bosses. I would like for us to have an app that would let people in the audience who are listening and following online and on social media and on the radio be able to contribute content to us with a single touch. So let's say that you're out and you cover it, you're shooting a parade. I'd like that our app to be able to, you just press a button and it comes to us. So we're really engaged in you're becoming part of the team, part of the reporting team. I think that helps build brand loyalty. I think that people, if they're contributing, they have a rooting interest in the success of WTOP on all the different platforms. I'd love for that to be one of the directions that we go. And I think that voice activated stuff is going to get better. Right now, it's really tough to do anything with your voice. If you've ever tried Siri, you can try it, but you spend a lot of time editing. But I think that's going to be a big turn. And of course, with this so-called Internet of Things, where you don't even need to carry a device, we'll be embedded with something that will talk to everything around us, and hopefully we'll be better connected when it's all is said and done.
Cool. How are we on time? Are we under 2 minutes? All right, I have one more for you, and then I'll turn it over. So, best app. You've got a lot of apps on your phone. What is the best app you have?
Okay. Well, my most used app, and I'm not sure that would apply to the folks in the room, is the one that I use for the multi-track audio and video editing. It's called Voddio, Voddio. So you have a multi-track editor in your pocket. So it's kind of empowering to know that wherever you are, you can do an entire story. So, and that's the app that I use to interview somebody else, voice my own voice track, mix it together, maybe add some natural sound under it, blend it together, and then I can share it. So that's my most important app. Other important ones are SoundCloud, which is it's sort of like YouTube for audio, where you can record on several different apps, and with a single touch you upload it to SoundCloud and you get a URL which you can share with anybody. You can also embed on your website. You can do pretty much anything with it. I hear that Twitter is close to working with them, and then when that happens, that's going to be huge. That's other important ones. It's nice to be able to Skype on your phone, or FaceTime. Actually, FaceTime is generally better quality audio and video than Skype. And of course, the WTOP app.
Nice, shameless plug.